Part 1, The Blues, Away from Home. Produced by Black Bottom James at BKK. Sometimes an ethnicity is dominated by the pain and suffering of conditions placed upon its situation and endurance enveloping their being, while going through so much abhorrence and revulsion only because of their skin color has been so deviated and dismissed. They have been measured and defined by the treatment bestowed upon them, making it difficult in seeing any other attributes or given any appreciation for accomplishments or recognition other than this onslaught and aversion of their predicament. My own perspective was distorted and misshapen by this treatment and misinterpreted characterization of previous generations of the experiences of suffering endured during these periods of pain, which exceeds my capacity in understanding the tragedies suffered during these days of imprisonment and incarceration, defining the centuries of living under slavery and Jim Crow without a hint of civil rights or minimal human rights. However, God knew the path of the Africans the moment He placed them upon this earth. He knew our destiny and vocation before the undertaking would prescribe the perils we had to face in this walk of life. These would come to be our defining moments of historical content depicting an ethnicity root of attempted discouragement, insulting, resentment, annihilation, eradication, disenfranchisement and marginalization. Yet, we overcame all these obstacles and perseverance in continuing the struggles and turmoil placed upon us, endeavoring the racism pronounced in our path. We have used these days of torture and torment in building and defining character, disposition, and integrity, in coping with the aggravation and exasperation in waiting for a new to arise from this place of debauchery, dissolution and decadence. One area of resistance unable in being contained was our music, developed from these conditions of pain and suffering, igniting a spirit inside, maintaining an area of enthusiasm and resistance through these days of induced pain and suffering. I don't know if the living environment were better, the music would have been driven in with so much emotions and power, expressing the restrictions, humiliation and dishonor of being a captive could have been conveyed to such a degree of displeasure and discontent, as found in this music of emotion and passion. It was the catalyst for creation of the blues. I think music expressed itself through emotions or feelings. It is the definitive factor for creative energy and expression of a physical release of a sentiment in reaction to events or the environment encountered, needing to be articulated or communicated in a tone or melody, stipulating a desire to communicate another avenue to inform and enlighten. It provides another voice in depicting your emotions or the conditions of the environment needed for the sustainment of an ethnicity for facing another day. When there was no other way of releasing what was need to be liberated in displaying the discontentment, frustration, or hopefulness of the day, the blues was an outlet of respite. In my younger days, I did not recognize there was a mode of communication or expression, only voyages into days of misery using familiar ballads or tones for conveyance of this music. I didn't like it, as it was so much a reminder of days without hope, suffering played and sung in a depressive mode of love or revenge. I could not identify or feel its passion or the representation it was displaying, therefore, I ignored the dimensions, exactness, and arousal provided by the shouting, chanting, and rhythmic form of every narrative ballad representing a tiring, strenuous, and weary struggles of times of life in the Delta. These were more than tunes of harmonies, but songs from the heart depicting times of celebration and heartache being played on life stages of fractured hopes and dreams, not knowing the path of tomorrow, just know there will be an outcome, not knowing where or how long. This is the heart and soul of American music to the world, providing a glimpse into dynamics of rhythm and blues, the true channel and corridor, all music having origins in America derived and developed. All music from America had its initial structure and composition from the blues, displaying the rhythmic tones and expressions found in the origin of rhythm and blues. But the blues is so much more than only music. It has experiences, conditions, and origins of a people trying to survive a life in a different culture, far from their encounters and experiences from their dislodgement and disruption of life in Africa. The blues were their attempts to assimilate an environment and culture of daily activities of abuse, cruelty, and manipulation into an existence, forming a life of unknown into something resembling adequacy and suitability to something tolerable resembling a life. This music was the resulting commentary spoken and retained into songs from the daily heartaches, strains, and pains trying to adapt to an unknown culture, being whipped and beaten, attempting in defining your new life of trials and tribulation. Somehow the resulting activities depicted upon an ethnicity creates another rendition of human cruelty in their struggle, in their continued aversion and abhorrence, designs another consciousness through adversity and strife, transmuting from one to another. For over 300 years, searching from freedom, looking for autonomy and sovereignty has impactful and influential ramifications, changing your demeanor and behavior for many. The blues is a release of emotions that has been eager to surface, unleashing resentment and antipathy, altering the dichotomy of the music to a less aggressive and active following and non-obstruction character and temperament. It is amazing why those elements of anger and intolerance never enter the lyrics. Well, maybe they did, but just hidden. Regardless, this is the true music of America, as it displays all the constituents of rock and roll, R&B, CNW, folk, and bluegrass. The blues is a testament to, perhaps, having its origins in Mali, a country in Western Africa, an area where slave trading was prevalent, where, if there were any remnants of the structure of the blues, it was taken by the residents, later becoming captives of slave traders, to the southern edge of Mississippi, known as the Delta Blues. Mali is, primarily, a Muslim country, possibly, arose forming the initial beginnings for the blues. However, most declare the roots of the blues from the Mississippi Delta, in the days after the Civil War. Regardless of its beginnings, it matured and developed its secular tones and harmony in the Delta, establishing itself through the environment of slavery, enslaving a man's ambition, aspiration, and desires, forcefully removal from his home, place of belonging, to a residential encampment, never a home to rest and mature. This has been a workplace environment, never sustaining treatment of encouragement and inspiration, never a place of being wanted, desired, or needed, forever being a workplace shelter, unable to call this place home, just another stop along this path waiting for them to show you the way home. For as long as these musicians have been playing the blues, they have not been formally appreciated for their talents. It has taken 100 years for these artists to get full recognition for their tools and magic in composing the greatest music of this country. Like all other things, it has been overlooked, unnoticed, and ignored for so many years, even by me. Their performances have provided an informed state of mind, remembering the past, presenting to the present, bringing a vast quantity of knowledge, expertise, and exhilaration in TE presentation of their music, enriching and entertaining their audiences, erupting in appreciation in a musical display of their identity being showcased and captured for the world to see and hear.